Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club podcast, where every week me and Miss Boo take turns picking films to watch and talk about. Some are good, some are bad, and some are in the holiday season at the Film Club. So, Boo, how are you on this fine Christmas Eve? Are we at Christmas Eve yet?
No, we're like a week before Christmas. Don't try to rush us into Christmas.
I'm excited.
Me too. And I'm hyped because today we're talking about La La Land, which is technically a Christmas movie. There's a Christmas aspect in it.
Yes. This is Boo's loosest pick for Christmas-themed film because there's a Christmas scene in this movie.
Exactly. There's a Christmas scene. And this is kind of like our last, big movie of the year because next week we're going to be talking about Christmas movies and then we have our year in review after that. So, how are you feeling about today?
I'm feeling pretty good about this. La La Land I haven't seen since it came out in 2016, so what's that, 6 years ago? 5 years ago?
We're celebrating its 5th anniversary. It debuted December 9th, 2016, so that was last week.
Yeah, see, I can't do basic math. I was like, 5, 6, whatever. But yeah, I remember really enjoying it in 2016. I hadn't seen it since. And
yeah, we went to go see it together.
God, that was one of our, I guess it wasn't an early date.
No,
that was in there, but it was a nice one.
Yeah.
But I remember watching the movie and really digging it and rewatching it now. I think I still like it, but I definitely now see kind of the flaws at the edges of the movie. You know what I mean?
No.
No?
I still really love it.
Oh, no. I mean, don't get me wrong. I will not flaw anybody for enjoying this film. It's a very good movie. I still like it, but I don't know. I'm probably not as high on it as I was 5 years ago.
Let's see if we can get Dean back on that high.
Back on the train?
Back on the train.
Yes. So, where do you want to get started with La La Land, since this is your pick?
This is my pick. This is one of my movies on my list, because at the end of the year, we're going to be revealing our top 10 movies that we love.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole Q&A thing. We're going to reveal it as we go. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So, La La Land came out 5 years ago, directed and written by Damien Chazelle, music by Justin Hurwitz, and nominated for 14 Academy Awards, won 6 of them.
Yeah, it was nominated for 14. That ties it with All About Eve and Return of the King?
I think so.
Or Titanic. I think Titanic was 14. But I know that, but this one won 6, and it's also the whole Oscar controversy where Faye Dunaway read the wrong movie. And Moonlight won Best Picture, but everybody's like, "Oh, La La Land's gonna sweep the whole thing."
Yeah, I really thought it was gonna be like when The Artist came out, and they took just about every award.
Yeah, The Artist won 8 Academy Awards, something like that.
I don't remember, but I know they won Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Director. It was huge.
I mean, this movie was ginormous when it came out. I mean, to put it in context, when this movie came out, it was right after Whiplash came out, which was Damien Chazelle's breakthrough movie.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, I finally get to make this movie I've been sitting on since fucking college.
Yeah.
And they gave him $30 million. And it comes out and people are like, oh, it's an old Hollywood musical. That's way outdated. It's gonna suck. And then it makes $400 million.
And it's just old Hollywood musical what? It's everyone loves musicals. Everyone loves Hollywood stuff related.
Well, here's the thing. When was the last time you saw a musical in the theater when it was released? Not counting La La Land. When was the last time you went to a theater because there was a new musical released?
Do the Muppets count?
You know what? Yeah, sure.
With Jason Segel?
How long ago was that? The Muppets movie was
way before this. So,
so a decade?
Maybe?
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. So, because La La Land, usually when we get movies that are these big, box office, juggernauts, and they also a huge critical success, usually for the next couple years after the movie comes out, usually you get La La Land kind of film. You get more musicals like this, but that just never happened. No. Is it just a thing where, are musicals just such a weird niche genre of films that it's just a thing Hollywood just doesn't do anymore?
I think so. Because, old Hollywood musicals, they were so larger than life.
The 50s were dominated by them.
Yeah, it was just about a couple of times a year a new musical was coming out, and I think it might have just been too costly for the studios. You have to have big sets, you have to have tons of dancers, people that can act and sing and do everything.
Yeah.
I think over time it's just kind of like, you know what? Let's save ourselves some cash. And, this way we don't have to pay everybody, and then you have to pay a songwriter and an orchestra. Because, this movie, it's not like, okay, they're just playing off the piano or the guitar the whole time. No, we have full orchestrated numbers in this movie.
Yeah, and also, that's not even going into the count that to do these kind of musicals, the dance numbers, all that stuff, the amount of rehearsal you have to do is so extraneous.
Yeah, because Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone were rehearsing 3 months prior to shooting.
Yeah.
So it's like you go into this movie and it's like, okay, you're not going to be here for, just the shoot. You got to practice before the shoot. You got to do stuff during the shoot.
All the press after the shoot,
Yeah.
because this is probably the most Hollywood musical has cost the studio in the last 40 years, so they need this shit to make money.
Definitely. Not only did Ryan Gosling have to learn how to dance, he had to learn how to play the piano so it looked realistic when he was playing.
Yeah.
They had to teach John Legend how to play the guitar because he doesn't know how to play guitar, but he could play the piano.
And Ryan Gosling knew how to play guitar, but not how to play the piano.
Exactly. And it was just like...
And also, Emma Stone had to do a shit ton of, physical, drills, exercises, and stuff like that, because I realized this, Emma Stone had to do... Oh, God, I think she had to do, actual physical therapy and stuff like that to get, her body ready to do all the dance numbers in this, because she is in so much of this movie.
Yeah.
She's actually the main character, right?
She is, and it's understandable why she won the Oscar for Best Actress, because, she gave so much, and she put so much of herself into this character. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think Emma Stone is by far and away the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
And, see, this is where I get to the point where the edges of the movie start showing up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the thing where Ryan Gosling, I think, is a fantastic actor. As a thespian, somebody who's able to portray people who is not himself, I like him as an actor. I think he's really good. I think he's a great dancer. I think the commitment he had to learning the piano is fantastic. But I don't think he's that strong of a singer. It's one of those things, when you hear John Legend start, singing in the thing, and it's John Legend, he's really good.
Yeah.
Professional singer. And then it's when you hear Ryan Gosling start singing City of Stars, it's one of those things where Ryan Gosling just doesn't have a very powerful, singing voice. Whereas Emma Stone, when she's singing in her audition, and it's, such a powerful piece, she's projecting, it's all in one shot, all these other things, and I'm like, okay, she can sing.
Yeah.
John Legend, he can sing. All, when it's in the, City in the Sun or something like that, the opening number.
Oh, Another Day of Sun.
Another Day of Sun. Those people, they can sing.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling, I just feel like he's okay, he's good, he's fine, but he's not a blow my mind singer, right?
He's not a singer, but I think that adds to his character, too. He's
a musician.
He's a normal guy, he's a musician, and he's trying to make his dream come true, so it's just this thing of, I don't sing on the stage, I play the piano, that's my thing, with jazz. But it's kind of something that he does when he's on his own. Yeah,
but I feel pointing out, it's well, that's just non-realistic. And I'm like, honey, they closed down the 5 freeway and had a whole dance production. That's how it opened the movie. I think that's kind of why I love musicals. Because musicals are just inherently a fantasy genre. They're just unrealistic at the base, because in real life, you don't have people singing their emotions unless you're my sister on a long drive, because she does that.
It happens. To each their own.
To each their own. But that's, just a thing. And I love that. And also how this movie uses color and how the film just looks like a fantasy version of Los Angeles. And
we're definitely going to get into color, because I think color is...
It's a premier point of the cinematography.
Color's almost a character in this movie, because it's so prominent, it's bigger than life. Along with CinemaScope. The fact that they made this CinemaScope is just...
I fucking miss CinemaScope.
Me too. Some of the biggest movies were made on CinemaScope, including musicals like A Star is Born, Guys and Dolls, The King and I, Love Me Tender, Rebel Without a Cause, Giant, Forbidden Planet.
Yeah.
The list just goes on with all these movies that were shot on CinemaScope.
CinemaScope is just beautiful because it's this big frame, and everything just looks deeper, and it's... I think, is CinemaScope 70 millimeter, or is it like that, or is it adjusted 35?
I think it's 70. I mean, I know the process is they condense the image, and then once it's projected,
It expands.
It expands, I think, by 2.5.
Yeah,
so it's like
I think it's 70. I want to say. I apologize to all the other film nerds out there. Like, I'm really bad at remembering like film stock.
Me
But
too.
I'm pretty sure Panavision's 70, but that's besides the point. But I love the use of the frame. I think like that big cinematic widescreen, and also it's a thing where it homages those old big 50s musicals that were so big, so bloated, had these big numbers, big productions. Gene Kelly ran fucking MGM whole musical department for like a fucking decade.
Yeah, because I'm sure that our previous movie that we were talking about with Gene Kelly, An American in Paris, I think that one was shot on Panavision.
Yeah. I mean, looking at them, they're very similar in honestly a lot of ways. I know Damien Chazelle said that when he was making this film, he pillaged American in Paris.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in this movie that had major homages to other films.
Yeah. Like, the fact that they're talking about Rebel Without a Cause, one of your favorite films, and that's a huge, just, pinpoint of the film.
And the fact that, Emma Stone makes the reference, Mia, her character, makes the reference, and, you have Seb, I got the bullets, and she's just like, uh-huh. And it's just like, you've never seen the movie? What do you mean you've never seen the movie? And it's just kind of seeing the...
That's one of those things that I'm almost like, wait a minute, how has Mia not seen the movie when she's just like, oh, I remember watching Bogart and watching Ingrid Bergman and all these other stuff. And I'm like, how has James Dean just missed you if you're a classic Hollywood person?
I don't know. I mean, there were so many movies that came out of the 40s and the 50s that you could just go years trying to watch every last thing that was made. So
yeah, I get that. But I mean, like, I feel Rebel Without a Cause is one of those films where if you're a movie person, is that required viewing? Like, okay, that's actually a real question, because I think this movie is really homaging classic Hollywood, and it's really trying to make a lot of references. I mean, the ending sequence is basically a riff of American in Paris, right? That long sequence where it's like a ballet and it's very interpretive. It's really great sequence.
It's
one of
beautiful.
the best.
I hands down, I think that's my favorite scene of the movie.
Oh, the ending?
The epilogue, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I will make a point, though. There are some edges of things in this movie that I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of. That could have been done better, but for some reason, that epilogue is actually just flawless. Like, that's actually a great culmination of the themes of the film, of the characters, and it is a really wonderful moment.
Well, that, and you feel like this is a big Hollywood movie, or Hollywood musical, and we're like, are we gonna get that big number where it's not real, it's not everyday life?
It's pure fantasy.
It's fantasy, and it's like, we get it, and we're thrown into it, and it's just like, I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
It's, you have ties on to reality and fantasy. We'll talk about the epilogue later, because there's a lot to talk about it.
Yeah, but back to my point, it's referencing all this stuff. The ending where it's just like a lot of American in Paris in there. Yeah. They're referencing Rebel Without a Cause.
Casablanca.
Lots of Casablancas in there.
Swing Time,
yeah. And I'm wondering, if you're not a big classic movie fan, does this movie lose something?
Like, I don't think so.
Really? Do you think this works completely the same, even if you're not catching all the little references and all the little details and all that stuff?
Yeah, because the movie's still beautiful and romantic and entertaining. That, yeah, if you don't understand the Easter eggs, it's still going to make an impact. Now, if you're a big fan of movies, then it makes it even more fun, because you're like, oh man, that's from this movie. I'm pretty sure that's from Casablanca. Oh, this is a reference to so-and-so. So I think it only enhances it when you've seen a lot of these movies and see how they're paying homage to them in these small ways.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are not small.
No, some of them are just right in your face.
I feel like they go to the Griffith Observatory. If you don't know what Rebel Without a Cause is, you're like, what the fuck? Why are you even at this old building?
I mean, they have Seb, driving down the same stretch of sidewalk that James Dean drives when he's going to park for the...
Also, I would like to point out, that is some bullshit. We went there. You cannot just drive your 2001 Subaru up towards the observatory anymore.
You cannot. You could either pay for a lot in parking, Or you could hike up the hill, which we did, and oh my god, we regretted it like the next few days. But it was still a fun experience.
I didn't realize this about the Grave of the Observatory, because I thought it's like, oh, it's this observatory, it's in the hills, there's probably a nice bit like parking structure.
We hiked a mountain.
Yes, exactly. I thought it was like, oh, it's a tourist trap. Well, it is. Where's the parking structure? The fuck you mean? You park at the bottom of the mountain and you climb up if you want to get in the parking lot.
Or you pay,
why?
I think it's like 15 or 20 an hour to park at the top level.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm poor.
Which after that I was like, take the 20. Like, please, my legs can't take that again.
But yeah, I mean, that's just a thing, because the film does use a lot of the, like, LA environment. This is obviously not Vancouver playing Los Angeles.
No, this is the heart of LA, as, real as it gets.
Yeah. And, well, I ain't gonna say real, alright? They're walking down, like, downtown LA, and it was a much cleaner version of Los Angeles.
Well, yeah, of course. But I mean, it's not like, they're building facades of the buildings. Like, no, they're actually...
they're real buildings,
yeah.
And I get that. I think it's one of those things where this is such a romanticized version of Los Angeles. It's kind of the thing, I think I saw this in one of Chazelle's interviews, that in a lot of these old musicals, when they were setting things in Los Angeles, they would try and make Los Angeles like a European city.
Yeah.
They would try and romanticize and make it like Paris, you know? Or it's like, oh, we're going to try and make it gritty, something like like England or Victoria, or like the Victorian era, where it's like dirty and grimy and a lot of industrial stuff. Or we're going to make it like post-war Germany, where it's like the depression laid over the land is just palatable for like the noirs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he's really shooting the film up in the hills of Hollywood, just showing the real grandeur of Los Angeles, of Hollywood, showing the observatory, showing like real landmarks of the city, and really trying to write his love letter to the city. He's like, no, this city is beautiful, and it should be respected. It shouldn't have to play another city for it to be cinematic.
Yeah, and it's kind of like one of Seb's lines where he says, everyone kind of worships LA, and oh god, what is the line? It's a good line.
They worship, the people in LA worship everything and respect nothing.
Exactly, that's the line, and he actually stole that from his partner Eva Mendes, who was talking about LA, because it's like, yeah, there's so many different things going on, but then at the end of the day, it's kind of like, well, no, I don't care, and it's like, no, you have, a select group of people where it's like, wow, this city has been around for so long, it's seen so much. So much has been filmed here, shot here, happened here. Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those things where I really appreciate the film making its love letter to Los Angeles, Hollywood, to like the area, because again, like we're from here, and I do appreciate that, but it's it's so fantastical that it really does feel like I recognize the land, but I couldn't imagine walking through it, which is weird because we've been on the actual freeway that they're on at the end of the movie. Like that big overpass at the beginning. I've been stuck in that traffic jam more than once. But it is one of those things where it is just a really nice sentiment of the film. But
and it also plays on the idea that people have of Los Angeles, where they see these beautiful landmarks and buildings and they think this is how LA is, and it's like when people go to Hollywood, when they're like, okay, I'm determined, I'm going to go see the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and it's like, yeah, you have the Sunset Strip, and you have Grauman's Chinese Theater.
I'm going to put it out to any tourist who comes to Los Angeles. If you go to the Strip is not that impressive.
You have a lot of the same shops where they're selling the same souvenirs. I mean, you have Hollywood and Highland with the mall, which that's cool, but there's not really a lot going on the Strip.
It's the other thing where it's a city. Like, it's rows of bars, a bunch of homeless people, and just like in crowds. Like that is Los Angeles.
Yeah, and a lot of people think, from the movies, I'm going to see celebrities on this street, and it's very, very rare.
Go to Burbank, you'll have a better chance at the grocery store.
Or go to Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive. You're guaranteed to see someone up there.
But all that is just so like it. It's not irrelevant because it does actually take a point of the movie where these people, Mia and Sebastian, they come to Los Angeles to follow their dream, and when they get there, they realize Los Angeles, Hollywood, La La Land, whatever you want to call it, is really not a place for dreams.
No, I mean, even towards the ending of the movie, Mia tells Seb, I'm going home. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I'll stop by tomorrow. And she's like, no, I'm going home. So it's like, this was her dream to become an actress, and this has become home. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? I'm going to drive all the way back to Boulder, because that's really my home.
Let's just get into that, of Mia's character, because she's, the struggling actress, and she is every struggling actress stereotype, right? She goes to all the auditions, she never gets called back, she's a barista as her day job, and she's like, I'm gonna make it, I dropped out of college, I came to Los Angeles, I'm gonna be an actress, big dreams, and...
I mean, I love that they add, when they show her in these auditions, it's a bunch of girls that look kind of like her. They're all, like, the same variation of this character.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, yeah, I can see how you kind of get lost in the crowd when everyone more or less kind of looks like you. And it's really kind of a roulette kind of thing where you don't ever know who's gonna score.
And here's the other thing. I appreciated her character so much because she's not a bad actress.
No, she's a good actress.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you're watching the auditions, Mia... traditionally in these, if you were doing it for, comedy, she's in there and she just gets a crummy audition, right?
Yeah.
And that's if you're doing it for comedy. If you're doing it for, a drama, and she'd be giving, a Oscar-baiting fucking just tear your heart out performance, right? And that's for the drama where it's like, they just don't understand her genius. But no, she's giving, solid audition performances. Those... I've seen casting and stuff like that where people come in... it's 30 fucking people. They all have scripts and they come in, they read their dialogue. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, no, she's doing basically what every actress does in these, casting calls or whatever. And she's pretty good, which I appreciate because it's not caricaturized. They're not making fun of Mia, which is a really good thing because she's a very easy character to pull comedy out of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's done a lot of comedy movies, and it's just, she's really good at comedy, and what I liked in this movie was that for all of her auditions, they brought out so many different ranges of her. So you see kind of comedic, you see serious.
Well, a lot of her comedy just comes from the fact that her and Ryan Gosling just have great chemistry.
Well, yeah, this was their third movie together.
Was it their third?
Yeah, because they did Crazy Stupid Love. And they also did Gangster Squad, and then this was their third movie. So they've had that history as a couple, because they were couples in both of those movies too. So it's kind of nice to see that they could really walk in and,
have that chemistry right away.
Have that chemistry and be totally believable.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing that I was getting at is she's also just has a natural charisma to her, and she is and she portrays herself in these films a lot of the times, and I don't know if this is actually in real life. I've never met the woman, but she seems like kind of a goofball, and I think, that comes through in the film, and it's a very real, nice, honest portrayal. She feels like somebody like a realistic character that you usually don't see in these kind of films.
That, and seems a lot like, if you were to meet her out on the street, she'd be totally chill, very humble. And that's in all of her roles. You never feel like, oh my god, she's pretentious or... You
never get the Angelina Jolie thing where in some of her movies or in some of her things you're just like, she doesn't seem like somebody you could approach and she would be okay talking to you if you found her on the street. She seems like somebody who'd be very annoyed you bugged her in the grocery store.
Maybe. I mean, we've never met the woman, so we don't know. She could be totally approachable.
It's true.
But I like that Mia and Seb feel very real. They don't feel like...
Mia, for me, feels real. Seb feels like he's the more played-up caricature of the idea. It's one of those things where him being a jazz musician, jazz pianist, and all that stuff is a interesting character idea. How he plays himself in the movie, though, feels so... He's a fucking snob, basically. I feel like that's the thing. He's Look, yeah, you can keep putting the mirror in front of my face all you want, but I was hoping you would see
the similarities between you and Seb.
Look, I am not as bad as Seb. He's kind of mean about how snobby he is. Can you admit that, though? At the beginning of the movie, he's kind of mean. He's kind of a dick.
I mean, he even says it to her. He's like, I'm sorry I was curt with you. And it's like, no, that's not curt. You were just
being an asshole.
Yeah, because, he just, hits her with his shoulder and walks out of the restaurant.
Just fucking checks her like it's Madden and keeps walking.
Yeah.
But, like Seb's character, like again, all credit to Ryan Gosling. I think it was really good in the film.
Yeah.
But it really did feel to me like the character of Sebastian was, I don't know, it just felt like he was in a different movie a little bit, or he was playing into a different role. Because he wants to be the tortured artist, but really he's like the guy that just can't get over himself. And that's really the crux of his and Mia's conflict, is he kind of can't get over himself about being like a real artist. And when he like does something for the money, he goes back and blames Mia, and Mia's like, you were literally going to be homeless.
Yeah, that whole fight is problematical. I mean,
you think that sequence is where you're like, okay, this is where the movie section of this reality starts kicking in?
I mean, you start to see it a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah.
But once we get to this fight, it's like, oh yeah, it's like all roads lead to south. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And where should we jump to next? Because we've been talking about just about everything. I feel like we need to
hone back in on a certain subject. Well, yeah, that's the problem. We go on a little bit of tangents every time we start talking.
Just a little bit.
But, so we talked about Mia. We talked a little bit about Sebastian.
Yeah.
And my opinions on him are probably pretty firm. He's a little bit of a snob. I think Ryan Gosling does a great job in all of his sequences, but
we also don't get a lot of information about him. Like,
you're fucking nothing.
It's like, was he from here? Did he come here from another state? It's kind of unknown.
We know literally nothing. This movie is Mia's story, and I think that's the thing.
We don't even know his last name.
Weiler.
Is it?
Wilder, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry. I looked that up on the IMDb. So.
Well, no, because I heard somewhere
that
in the movie he doesn't introduce himself to Mia.
Yeah, that's another thing. I noticed that as the movie was going on, where there's just a lot of implied information.
Yeah.
Like when she's saying you should call it Seb's and all that stuff.
That's the only time she says
his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that really goes into the fact that this story is not really about him. It's about Mia, right?
Yeah.
Because let's get into the story a little bit. Not the plot, because going through like the plot beats, we try that experiment. It doesn't work all the time.
Not always.
But the broad story, because this is a story about two people trying to follow their dreams, meeting each other in the City of Stars, and once they come together and once they start achieving their dreams, they just gradually grow apart, and
it turns into, is it really worth it to go after your dreams or to stay in a relationship where you genuinely love the other person?
I don't even know if that's really it, because I understand they love each other, but I think they love each other because each one of them did something that allowed the other one to achieve their dream. And I don't want to make it sound like the reason they appreciated and loved each other was because they were the stepping stone to achieve something. It was a real, honest relationship that allowed them to see something in themselves to go out and do it.
Yeah, it was support.
Seb's incredibly supportive, encourages Mia to make her one-woman show, which leads to our audition that gets her into the big movies. Mm-hmm. Mia's the one that
encourages Seb to call
John Legend.
John Legend. I can't think of his Keith.
No. The Legend.
The Legend, yes.
The Legend.
Yeah, because Seb doesn't want to, play modern jazz.
He doesn't want to do like that rock jazz fusion stuff. But she's like, look, you just do it. You go on tour. It gives you a chance to perform in front of people. You get to be the artist you wanted, and it'll make you enough money to open your own club.
And she really doesn't even, tell him all of that. He gets, the final push when she's talking on the phone to her mom, and she's just like, yeah, he's gonna open his club someday. Well, I'm not sure when. He's gonna figure it out.
He's working it out.
And he's just seeing kind of where they're living and how the roof is leaking.
Is that where his resentment comes from? Because he feels like the reason he's doing this is because Mia is unsatisfied with his station in life? Like, do you think he's doing that? He's doing that to just make her happy and not make himself happy? That's why he's going with Keith?
I think it's, from the start, it's, what, let me do this to take care of her. And then it turns into, why did I do this? And then it's like, I'm going to put the resentment on you because this is all your fault and it's not my fault. And it's just a thing of adulting. And adulting sucks sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's really the heart of the movie is, a hashtag adulting sucks, yo.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what it is, because at the end of it, these people who were the wild, crazy romance, they're together for a year.
Yeah.
And then they break up because they realize, well, we're not actually compatible as people unless we're not very successful. We're great at supporting each other, but once we don't need support, we're really not good together. Which is, that's like a pretty honest portrayal of some relationships. Where,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that before, where it's like the people who are serial relationship people,
Yeah.
as soon as they're out of a relationship,
They're back in another one.
They're back in another one. And it's a thing where, I'm with this person because I need support at this point in my life. And then when they're gone, I'm like, I just keep needing another person because maybe it's not even like gratification, it's that you just need like human connection.
Yeah.
And I think in this movie, it's a story about these people having that human connection. It changes them in a very, huge way.
In a profound way.
And then they change, they grow apart, and then they achieve their dreams without each other, but they needed those other people to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is a love letter to the dreamers that that leave, Iowa and come into America, or not Iowa to come to America, Iowa to come to Hollywood to become, stars. Yeah, if you didn't know, like, Iowa is not in America, everything past the Rockies is just America stand. It just doesn't exist.
We are learning so much from Mr. Dean today.
Yeah, I know. But you know what I mean, people come from like the middle of bumfuck nowhere to Hollywood to become movie stars, to try and, try their chance at the entertainment business. Right?
That's an interesting fact that you made, because when they were doing all the pre-production for this movie, originally Damon Chazelle wanted Emma Watson.
And Miles Teller.
Yeah. So I thought, how different would the movie have been if you had... I mean, the story still would have worked, because if she had still been British in the movie, yeah, totally understanding, someone from England coming to be an actress here in California.
Yeah, I think they probably would have just had Emma Watson just put on an American accent. I don't know if she's
done it before.
She has?
She has.
Is it a good one?
It's decent, yeah.
Okay, because I know that's a thing with a lot of, like, British people make fun of Americans when they put on British accents, but I'm like, guys, like, Kit Harington can't put on a good, like, Midwest accent to save his fucking life, alright? I'm sorry.
But I think, they wouldn't have had to make her American. I think it would have worked,
as British or English, but I understand. But it's one of those things where it's like, if it's Emma Watson and Miles Teller, I feel the dynamic of the performances is shifted a little bit. In my opinion is I think Miles Teller's a stronger actor than Emma Watson is.
In my opinion, I think Emma Watson's stronger than Miles Teller.
Yeah, I mean, a difference of opinions everywhere. But in this movie, we can, like, again, in the blind, you're just like, okay, who's the stronger actor between Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling? You're just like, in the blind, most people are probably going to say Ryan Gosling in the blind, right? Yeah. And then you watch the movie and you're like, no, Emma Stone is just, like, killing this. And Ryan Gosling he's showing up to work today. Like,
no, I mean,
he's doing a great effort.
Yeah,
but
I think he does an excellent job. I mean, out of the two of them,
if you're comparing these two actors, like, who owns the show?
Emma, of course, and it's Emma's story, so it's just a thing.
I gotcha, but that is an interesting question: is does this work without those two actors?
I don't know. It's just
it's one of those things where it's like there's a lot of power in Emma Stone's performance near the end of the film. Because in the beginning, she's more of like this fun, goofy character.
Carefree. Well, not totally carefree, because...
It's a goofier character. She's a lighter character. Yeah. Then at the end of the movie, when she does the whole song monologue sequence about her aunt, who's like, oh, she was an actress, she introduced her to, like, all these movies and cinema, and then she died a drunk. And that's a real, like, emotional thing. The scene never breaks.
No.
You see a lot of emotion in her face, and she's just belting this out. And that's a strong, huge emotional bit. I don't know if Emma Watson does that as well as Emma Stone. Grant, I don't see it. I don't think she could, but
I'm not sure. I just think
I feel like that's the tell. Can Emma Watson do that scene better than Emma Stone?
Probably not.
Then I don't think it would have been a better movie.
I mean, I think Emma Watson would have done a great job because she's a
She's a great actress.
she's a magnificent actress, but it's just I think this role was meant for Emma Stone, and that role was meant for Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
I think, if they had been paired off with somebody else, the chemistry would not have been there.
You don't think it would have worked?
No, I mean, maybe it is because they've had the 2 other movies under their belt, but it's just, together they work so well. And even in those movies, they're very believable that they're, this couple.
It's also interesting because in 2016, I want to say Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone were just becoming A-list celebrities. The thing where it's like, like how, I guess how I define A-list celebrities, like Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Angelina, people who you see their name and their front build on there and you're like, well, I guess I'm going to go see that because that actor's in there. Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, I feel in 2016 they're not there. The biggest movie I remember Emma Stone being in before this was Easy A.
I love Easy A.
It's a fun comedy, and then it's Ryan Gosling. I remember, before this movie, the only thing I vaguely remember him being in was The Notebook, but the last thing I saw him in was Goosebumps.
Wow.
Yeah.
Long time.
Long time. But, that's the thing. Do you think this is a great performance just because up till that point we didn't really know that much about the actors to put anything on them? Because if it's Emma Watson, then people are going to be like, all right, when's the owl and the wizard's going to show up?
That, as she was also in Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Beauty and the Beast, is
Beast.
what she dropped this movie for.
And I think Ryan Gosling was kind of eyed to be the Beast, and he dropped that to be in La La Land. So it's kind of weird to see the switch. Weird.
Yeah, I was looking into some of the casting, and it was a weird, winding road of people they had in and out of it at weird times. I think Jeremy Renner was going to be Seb at one point.
Huh.
Have you ever heard Jeremy Renner sing?
No.
He did this bit, I think it was on The View or Oprah or whatever. I saw the clip. That motherfucker got a voice on him.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really weird because you look at him, you're like, okay, this looks like a guy who just got off a long haul trucking excursion and is about to go bang the diner waitress. But then you hear him sing, and you're like, nah, that guy's a rock star waiting to happen. But whatever. I think Bradley Cooper was up at some point.
Huh.
There's a weird winding road of actors and actresses that were thought of for this.
Yeah.
But besides the point. I think the story at its heart is just about these two characters coming together and finding each other and then realizing that they just don't work together. And then that whole ending sequence happens.
I mean, it's the same with a lot of relationships. I mean, it doesn't even have to be romantic relationships. It could be friendships. It could be, whatever. It's just, some people come in, they get you through a rough patch, or they kind of help you springboard onto the next part of your life, and you never talk to them again. You're grateful for what you had, and then it's just on to the next.
Yeah, and then you have that ending sequence, the American in Paris homage, which not as good as American in Paris. I'm going record, but this is pretty good. When it hits that 8mm footage, I ain't gonna lie, that shit hits different. I don't know what it is about Super 8mm, silent home movie footage. That hits me right in the fucking feels.
You cried.
I know I teared up in the theater, but watching it this time, I dried. No tears. But, besides the point. The ending sequence of the movie is really, I don't want to say, the thesis, or, the final statement on the entire film.
Mm.
Right? There's no dialogue.
No.
It's all ballet to this jazz orchestral music going on.
Kind of like an American in Paris, where there's no dialogue.
It's a ballet.
Yeah.
And we're going through this, and it's very fantastical. We're seeing what their relationship could have been like.
Yeah.
And
that's heartbreaking once the scene ends and you realize, no, this is the reality. I mean, I didn't
think it was heartbreaking.
I was hoping, I'm like, oh, please, let them end up together, and then
let Mia leave her husband and daughter to go be with Seb, the club owner.
Well, not leave them. It's just
get that divorce.
No. You see, the 2 roads that you could take, and which road do you take? And it's I was hoping maybe she takes the road where they both take the road where they end up together, and it's this is the dream, but whatever.
That wouldn't have been honest, though. That's
No.
not. I don't think that's an honest ending. I think the ending we got is the most honest ending you could have gotten for this kind of a love story. Because it's a story about people who do honestly and truly love each other and will honestly and truly always love each other. But they just don't work together. It's not like a thing where it's a toxic relationship or anything. It's just a thing where we absolutely love each other, but we're just not that compatible. We're not the kind of people who can be with each other.
I don't even think it's a issue of compatibility. I think it's just, do I really sacrifice what I've dreamt of for all this time for you?
I don't even think it's that. I don't think that it's that selfish. That's the thing. The whole thing of looking at this as the love story makes the thematics of it a little weird, because through the movie I don't really get why they broke up completely. I have a pretty decent idea where it's like, okay, Seb resents Mia because he has that feeling, oh, the only reason you wanted to be with me because I was unsuccessful and you could look down on me.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, and then Mia's like, oh, the only reason, you have me around is so I can just be your, hanger-on girlfriend while you be, the famous musician. You don't want me to have my own dreams. And it's one of those things where they're flinging spit at each other.
Yeah.
But it's so hollow.
I think the nail in the coffin is when he doesn't show up to her show.
You see, like, that's the thing. But then, usually in romantic movies like this, oh, he missed her show for this photo shoot, blah, blah, blah. He shows up late, then she drives off, and then makes the grand romantic gesture, drives out to Boulder City, picks her up, takes her to the audition. And it's supposed to be the thing where, oh, after she gets the audition, they love her, and then, oh, the grand romance is rekindled, and they live happily ever after. That's the traditional, story. But this, it does take the divergence where he does the grand romantic gesture, and she's like, I'll always love you, but I don't think we can be together.
She asks him, where are we? And he's kind of just, you know what, I'm not really sure. And he sacrifices. He's like, you know what? I think if you're going to do this, you need to do this the correct way. You need to give everything that you have. You can't let me be in the shadows of, well, my boyfriend's back in America. I really got to rush and come back to him. It's like, well, no, if you get another gig or something, go for it. Don't even second guess it. Just keep it going. It's
the thing where, do you think it's like a selfless act as to why they're giving each other up?
Yeah, it's a thing of, look, we'd be amazing together, but we're always going to wonder, what if? And it's just this thing of, you know what, if you take me out of the equation, you could pursue that, and it's never a what if. We knew what we had when we were together. It was never a what if we got together. It's just that thing of, I'm always going to miss you.
I just feel like that ending, I understand it if they're doing it out of sympathy and out of like a selfless act for each other. I just feel it's not set up well enough. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know about you, but it doesn't feel like a real breakup situation, right?
Well, I mean, it's not like, the breakups that we see in movies where people are screaming and crying.
I don't even mean like a real life breakup. It's like, I can't really bring myself to understand the two of them saying it's over, even it's over, but it's over because of what? Like, what in the movie have we seen? And it's like, okay, Seb, he's kind of pissy at Mia for like reasons that are not justified unless it's in his eyes. And then Mia's just kind of not okay being what Seb wants her to be. And I'm like, actually, wait, I kind of made my own point. I think that's actually a pretty decent reason why you would break up with somebody.
Yeah, because you see...
I'm sorry, but I just went on a whole tangent and roundabout to answer my own fucking question.
If you could only see the epiphany in his eyes pop as he said that, it was amazing. But
well, articulating that actually makes sense. Yeah, fucking, I would probably leave Ryan Gosling if he was this level of kind of pissy asshole, and I would probably leave Mia if she, and I can totally see why Mia would leave him, where she's like, I don't want to be your, trophy wife, and I can see that, because it's like,
And I don't want to work some boring 9-to-5 job when music is my passion. It's my life.
Yeah, Seb's over here where he's like, I'll always have some level of resentment if I'm successful, and I feel I can't do that and be with you at the same time, because he'll just direct that resentment towards her for, pushing him to, like, be successful, which is weird.
It's the issue where when they were just dreamers and just getting together, it worked because there was no roadblocks. And then once she sees that he's out on the road, well, it's just really her on her own. You don't see her friends because her friends are probably working. They're doing
gone.
other things.
They're gone out of the movie after the first act, let's be real.
And then you see, the other side with him. He's traveling and she's working on her show. They're on different sleep schedules, so you don't really get to talk to each other. So yeah, you start to see the shift and the divide, and it's kind of like, well, I don't really feel like I'm in a relationship. I kind of feel like
I'm just living with a person.
I'm living with a person that I either see when she's asleep, or she's out in the morning, or he's hopping on a plane. So yeah, you see that divide, and after that, it's kind of like, well, I have a band that's touring, and you're possibly going to become an Academy Award-winning actress. It's like, what do we really have tying each other?
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where they don't really have any commonalities between each other to really have a lot of, like, a foundational thing to build a relationship on.
We don't really see, like, too much into their personal life, Oh,
that's because
love this.
Seb has one personality. He is he's a snobbish jazz geek, and Mia has a struggling actress personality that really wants to achieve something. Mia has character, Seb kind of doesn't. I wonder if that's, like, why I just rub up against Sebastian's character, and it's just not, it's sandpaper kind of thing, where it's like, he doesn't there's not a lot there to latch onto. There's not a lot there other than he's a snobbish jazz guy that has a dream.
I think he's just afraid to be open. Because, we meet him and he's very kind of cold and isolated. And once we get to that epilogue scene, right before he spots Mia, he comes out on the stage and, he claps somebody's back, and he kind of turns into a showman when he's behind the microphone. And it's not until he sees Mia where it's just like, the words are just gone. It's just like he gives her that kind of like welcome.
And that's the thing. I think that's why the ending sequence works, is because in the reality of the film, he's just playing this piano to everybody, and it's like he's expressing his emotions and all that stuff through the music.
Yeah.
And that really does come through in the film cinematically. It's a really interesting movie.
Yeah.
I think the movie actually has a lot of, like, good elements to it. Some parts are great elements to it.
Yeah.
I just don't know how I keep coming up against the thing where there's still, like I can see the edges of the film, and I'm like, some things don't completely smooth over for me. Mostly it comes down to, like, the Sebastian character. I think the movie's almost too cute for its own good.
I don't think it's that cute.
No, well, it's the thing where it's like, I don't mean cute, like it's look how cute. It's like, it's too cute where it's like, hey guys, we're watching Rebel Without a Cause. We're at the Egyptian. Oh, we're going to the Griffith Observatory, guys. Hey, look at this, all you film nerds out there. Like, it's one of those things where it's a little bit, like, look.
I thought it was done well.
I thought it was fine, but
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, every other scene, it's like, okay, Mia has, like, a black cat poster in the back of her thing,
which is awesome.
She has a big poster thing of Ingrid Bergman, right?
Yeah, which I was super jealous. It's like, I loved her apartment. I mean, it's not my style. It's a little too bright and cutesy for me, but it's like, I love all the movie posters.
I want gray, more gray on top of gray. I want a gray hoodie with a gray logo.
Okay, Seb. Can I have the microphone?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
But yeah.
But I really like that transition, because when they go see Rebel Without a Cause, it's for research. Even though they're very much into each other, it's research. She's going to go see it for the first time. And I don't know if you've gone to a lot of screenings where they screen the movies on 35.
I've seen a few, yeah.
When I went to the Egyptian, I went to go see Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr. And right as the movie was starting, there was a problem with the celluloid, and the screen went out just like it does in the movie.
Oh, you had a burned cell?
So that was kind of like, oh, hey, I've experienced that before, so that was cool.
I get that, I understand that, but it's one of those things where I think the movie really relishes in the whole, like, you know, wink to the camera, nudge your buddy, be like, hey, you guys get this, right? You guys get these old movie references. It's one of those things where I'm like,
but I think
the movie's leaning on it a lot for me.
But I think it's cool that, you know, okay, well, the movie didn't work out, and her idea is like, you know, well, I have an idea. Yeah, I mean,
just go to Griffith Observatory.
Exactly, and the Rialto, which they're watching Rebel Without a Cause in, is a pretty famous theater. It's in South Pasadena.
Again, they're just like, hey guys, we're at the Rialto. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Everybody knows what's up, right?
Where they filmed Thriller, the music video. So many other movies were shot there.
Again, it's one of those things where this movie is movie trivia reference central, that they're just like, they're leaning
it's a love letter to Los Angeles. You kind of have to do that.
I get that, but it leans so heavily on it. I'm like, can we just have them in like a normal coffee? Can we get like a real dialogue sequence with the two of them? Can we get them having like more dramatic moments? Can we get them in the apartment again? Like, it's one of those things where they're really like, oh, we're gonna walk through the Warner Brothers backlot so we can show off all these like things where she talks about that window right there. That's where, you know, Humphrey Bogart was in Casablanca. Which, don't get me wrong, cool, but it's one of those things where they're like, hey, guys, we got to film in the Warner Brothers backlot. I'm going to show you this shit. Check this shit out, right? I'm having Emma Stone say this so I can put it in the movie. It's one of those things. I get it. Damien Chazelle loved filming this, but it's one of those things.
But I think that's more just you, because I get excited about filming locations and stuff that's been in movies, and you're just like, whatever, it's a building. But meanwhile,
it's how the story's told. Yeah.
If I could make my point, please.
Sure.
We go to the Bradbury building where Blade Runner was shot, and you won't stop talking about it for 2 hours straight.
The Bradbury building's a cool fucking building.
It is, but it's like, you're very impartial when it comes to stuff like this, but if it's something that's like deep-rooted in a like that you like, oh my god, we will never hear the end of it.
I understand. I am a hungry hypocrite.
Yes, you are.
I understand that. But my thing is, in the movie, they're doing this, and I will completely admit, this is probably just me being, like, pedantic. It's probably only me.
I agree.
But it's one of those things where it's like, let's get back to the narrative at hand. We don't need a whole lot of the, like, cutesy wink and nudges at the camera. We don't need a lot of it. I understand why it's there. I appreciate it, but I think it's a little much. I understand if you are saying I'm wrong. I get it.
Aye, Captain Pedantic.
Yeah. But with that, do you have any other big points you wanted to talk about before we get to the wrap-up evaluation? And we got to fade this out because we're like an hour in.
I mean, it's a really good movie. Got a lot to say about it. But one thing I wanted to say about the planetarium, I don't know if you remember, because I know you watched Swing Time for your other podcast. Did that scene in the planetarium remind you of anything from Swing Time?
You mean the ending dance number?
Where I think it's kind of like a black granite floor.
It's a big ballroom, yeah.
And they go up to the upper level and the stars are behind them.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have kind of, cued into, hey, that's the same scene. And I'm like...
To reiterate, this movie's like, hey guys, every dance sequence in here is stolen from a Fred Astaire or a Gene Kelly movie? Just throwing it out there.
Well, I mean, when they're...
Every last one.
When they're out there at, what is it, Kathy's Corner on Mount St. Hollywood, when they're doing the big dance over the hillside.
Yeah.
I mean, right off the bat, that's a nod to Gene Kelly and Singing in the Rain, when he's singing on the lamppost, and it's just like, oh my god, Singing in the Rain, but also a beautiful sequence.
To reiterate, this movie is just like, I really hope you guys are really brushed up on your classic Hollywood, because ooh buddy, we paying off. But yeah, I get it. It's a really good, there's a lot of good homages in this. It's a really beautiful movie.
I mean, even with that sequence, going back to the Mount Hollywood hillside, they shot that in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They had to compete with the sun. So it's just like, wow, it's like this beautiful dance number and song between the two of them was just done in 30 minutes.
Yeah. That's what happens when you cast good actors.
Yeah, I mean, it paid off having them, practice the dance for 3 months and then, come in and just, boom, we're done and we're out of here.
Mm-hmm. I'm just surprised that the background was real, because it's so purple.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's probably a lot done in, like, color correction at the end, but it's like, you need a base to work off of.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. That's a beautiful canvas to work off of.
I mean, we get some beautiful sunsets.
All right, Boo, but before we forget, because I know you brought this up about color earlier in the podcast, and we've done this a million times, where we're like, oh, we'll get to it later, and we never fucking do.
Yes.
So this is your chance to redeem yourself before the year's over.
My chance or your chance? Because you usually cut me off, and then it's like, hey, I had like a ton of facts and points to make, and you're like...
Oh, look, I'm about to cut you off again and just move on to the next thing. So you either get to it or you don't.
Wow. Okay, so color plays a huge part in this movie. I really think it plays a character because we see the moods kind of shift in the movie. So in the beginning, it's very romantic, it's very fun and bright. And then once we start to see kind of the shift in their relationship, it gets a lot darker. I mean, even their apartment, the color changes.
That's a Vertigo reference. That's why it's that neon green.
Which is beautiful. I mean, I know it's kind of showing their struggle at the time and green for envy. But I like that dark green on the wall with, you know, the black curtains. It works.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to the fact that the color in the film helps portray the fantasy element of the movie. And it's one of those things where most movies nowadays don't really do that.
No.
Like, I don't want to accuse people I know of doing this, but a lot of people I know say, oh, we're going to film something? Yeah, we'll just use all the lights in the room. Like, we'll just make it supernatural, so we don't have to light everything, because I want everything to look real and gritty. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, there's like 70, 80 years of people using dramatic lighting to tell the story, and it's also just looks fucking better.
Yeah.
And this movie really does that, where, like, it uses really vibrant colors, it uses, like, really dramatic lighting effects, and it's really just a lovely looking movie.
Yeah, I mean, let alone the scene of Seb on the pier in Hermosa Beach. I mean, that scene is beautiful, where it's just, I mean, the CinemaScope helps because you look like you're there walking on the pier, and then you just have this purple sunset, and it's just, you kind of feel the melancholy when he's singing City of Stars.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look at sequences like that, and God, you just want to, like, stare at that sunset.
You just want to be there.
It's so pretty. I think that's the thing. The movie, overall, if I had to describe the way the movie looks, cinematography, it's just pretty. It's like, oh, how does it look? How is it, like, cinematic? Does it look like, you know, Lawrence of Arabia? No, it just looks fucking pretty.
Yeah, it looks like the way that people envision LA.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
very...
the dream world. The
dream. It's very beautiful. I mean, I love the lighting in their apartment, even though it's showing their struggle. It's just, to kick it back to you with the dramatics, there's just something about dramatic lighting, like kind of like noir movies.
Yeah.
Where it's just absolutely stunning. It's like, it may be a sad time in someone's life, but it's gorgeous to be seeing that.
Yeah.
Because it works.
It really does. I will say that the movie it really does look like it was made by a master craftsman.
Yeah. Somebody
who really knew that they knew exactly what they were making, and they knew all the things to make that great. So, like, really emphasize the things about musicals that make musicals just wonderful fantasy films, wonderful love stories, all the things that make musicals good.
I mean, even color theory is used in this movie.
A lot of it. Yeah, color theory is used in, like, every film. At least all the good ones.
But, I mean, it stands on its own in this movie because, you know, we could go with the lighting of sets. I mean, the lighting when Mia runs out of the restaurant to run to Seb when they're going to go see Rebel Without a Cause. Mm-hmm. And it's just this beautiful light purple sky, and the flowers are falling.
There's so much purple in this movie.
And it's just like, oh my god, it's like, that's gorgeous.
You just want to live in these frames, don't you?
Yes, I mean, along with Miyazaki films, yes, this would be another world that I would like to live in. Even the costuming, I mean, when we meet Mia, and up until she starts dating Seb, she wears a lot of bright, vibrant colors.
Yeah, I think there's a point to that. She feels like she's somebody who's trying to stand out in the crowd. And then every time we see Seb, he's in these kind of drab, toned down clothes. Yeah. Well, like old looking suits, really plain wear, what have you. And it's one of those things where even the way they dressed depicts their two differing personalities.
And then it's so interesting to see that when Seb takes off and his band is, you know, becoming popular, he's starting to wear the more vibrant clothes, the stuff that you would see on stage, and Mia
he
kind
looks
of...
so uncomfortable.
He does. He's like, this really isn't my thing. And then we see Mia kind of start to dress down because she's focused on her play, and it's more, I'm at home writing, or I'm out, in a restaurant writing. It's not, I'm trying to kind of, stand out in the crowd.
It's interesting because Seb goes from being the artist to the performer, and Mia goes from being the performer to the artist. And it's a thing where they're both getting something from the other's perspective, and it's portrayed in the color and the costuming and all that stuff. But once they're in the other's perspective, and they're just like, how the fuck can you live like this?
Exactly.
Like, I just don't understand. And that's probably more of the crux of why they're just so incompatible, is they're so opposite in like the personalities and like what they want, what they desire. Mia wants to be on stage performing. She wants to like make people feel something with her performance, and Seb wants to compose. He wants to make music. He wants to be the artist.
Yeah,
right?
He wants to have his club that's going to be amazing and people are having a great
It's
time.
gonna be stuff to like make jazz again, make jazz great.
But I don't need to be the star of it. I want to be there to enjoy it myself, to play the piano, and let the people that are there to listen to the music and dance, let them be the star of the show.
Yeah.
And I think with that, it kind of takes me back to the beginning of the movie where we see Mia at the party with her friends.
Yes.
And
where her friends disappear for the rest of the film.
They disappear, and we just see kind of Mia go into the bathroom. And I saw someone that compared that to Stanley Kubrick. His quote, a picture within a picture.
Oh, yeah, like frames within frames.
Frames within frames. And it's just, we're seeing Mia as she's looking at herself through the mirror. And it's this, beautiful, dark red bathroom. And then she comes back out, and it's just, everyone's moving in slow motion. And it's just like, you've got like the confetti or whatever falling in slow motion. And it's kind of just, her making her way through this crowd, seeing, okay, where do I really fit in amongst these people?
Yeah.
I know in that scene, I love the transition of the person jumping off the balcony and into the water when the camera follows. Mm-hmm. It's just, I love that we're going from,
It really gets into the dynamics of the camera.
Yeah, camera dynamics, but we're also seeing, okay, this is the real world, and then we're diving into the water, and everyone's diving into the water. It goes also with the scene at the Lighthouse Cafe, where he used the same technology, or not even technology, it's the same technique that he used in Whiplash to show, I can't think of his name, he's in this movie too, when he's directing...
J.K. Simmons, when he's directing Miles Teller on the drums, and they do it in this movie where Seb's playing and she's dancing, and it's just whipping the camera back and forth. Just it's a bunch of whip pans.
Yeah, and it's just a non-stop scene. They're just continuing, and I think that adds to the beauty of the movie, technique, color.
It's all the freneticism of the film.
Yeah, because it's not just, oh, well, it's a beautiful story, so I kind of avoid, everything else. It's like, no, there's so much in this story that makes it beautiful all at once. There's a lot of moving pieces, and it just works in this movie.
Yeah, I really think this is just one of those movies that is just... It's just so well crafted.
Yeah.
But I think it's about that time for us to figure out, where does it go? Where does it sit on your scale of 1 to 10?
I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
Yeah.
Almost the perfect movie?
If they ended up together, it would have been the perfect movie.
I think if they ended up together, this would have been a 2 for me. I think as is, this is absolutely
everything is
8.
a 2 for you.
No, like that. I think if they end up together, it's dishonest to the story, and it's dishonest to the characters. But as it is, I can agree. This is like an 8-9 movie. This is a really fucking good movie.
Yeah, I mean, they throw so much back from the past. I mean, we even have title cards in this movie.
Yeah.
And I love that the title cards kind of play into the rise and fall of their relationship. I mean, granted, every title card has its own thing except for fall. And that's when we really start to see the problems in the relationship and the big fight that they have. So it's like a lot of thought was put into this movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I really do think the film as a whole just works. And that's one of those things where the things that I would like rub against it, and I'm like, I'm not a huge, like, I'm not really digging it, or it's like, I think that could have been done a little bit better. It's one of those things where I'm not calling this a perfect movie. I will say this, I'm not even sure if this is Damien Chazelle's best movie, because I've heard Whiplash is a masterpiece. I haven't seen it. I probably will watch it soon. But honestly, yeah, I think this movie is just so solid across the board. I think it's telling a really lovely story. I think the homaging, though, is rampant and a lot and a little overwhelming. It's
in
still
your
done,
opinion?
in my opinion, but it's so done so well.
The music?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't hum a single tune from this movie, but the Mia song at the audition is the best by far. By far. There's not a single song even close. Because that one tells a story, is emotional to the character, and absolutely works.
Not even their theme?
Okay, do you mean their theme, where it's like the music when they're doing the ballet, or do you mean the theme of City of Stars?
No, I mean like Mia and Sebastian's theme, the theme that he's playing in the steakhouse. As she comes in and, she's just drawn to him.
I think that's a good musical number, but I don't think it's the best in the movie. I don't think so.
I don't know. I think it's very strong. I mean, it's able to pull her character off the street, and then when she's at dinner with Greg...
Well, I admit it's a strong musical number. It's not the best in the movie.
Well, no, I'm not talking about musical number. I'm just talking about music in general, because this is a musical, so...
Yes, and I will keep going again. Not even close to Mia's audition. Not even a little bit.
Because, I mean, I love the entire album, the score. It's like...
After we got this movie, you listened to the album for like a month in my car.
It's good music.
Yeah, it's good. It's good music, but in terms of like the film and the story it's telling, there's one song that I think really does get to the heart of of a character, their emotion, who they are as a person, expresses like everything you need to know about them, and that's Mia's song. It's her about like growing up and her dreams, why she has these things, where she wants to go, like how it's been hard for her, how the person she aspired to be just had such a rough downfall, how she just wants to just be a dreamer. She is a dreamer and she just wants to live her dream.
Yeah,
that song, best by far.
Yeah, it's the most raw and real song in the movie.
In the fantasy, that's the realest shit in the room.
Yeah, and then we have the epilogue, which just builds off of Mia and Seb's theme into all the songs from the movie, and we kind of see the beginning and the ending of this dream relationship that Mia has, her last dream of the movie.
Yeah.
And they both walk away from that kind of acknowledging...
We had a good time.
We're okay.
Yeah.
We get that, kick it back to an homage when she walks into his club and he sees her for the first time. That's Casablanca. That's Rick seeing Ilsa and Victor walk in.
I was waiting for Seb to look at Mia, the smile, the nod, thumbs up, Top Gun. And that was end of the movie.
Oh, God.
It was going to flash back. Sebastian was going to be in a fucking F-150 and he'd be like, you always got my ticket.
No, they were going to play Danger Zone to end the movie.
Okay, don't even act like you wouldn't have been hyped if Danger Zone popped on. Danger Zone pops on, I'm getting up.
I may have Danger Zone in my Spotify playlist, but it doesn't mean I want to see it at the end of this movie.
You may or may not have listened to Danger Zone on the way here to hype yourself up for recording.
No. I think we did a lot of talking.
It happens. But yeah, so overall, movie 8, 9, I can 100% see why this would be somebody's favorite movie. 100% see why this was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. Understand why it won 6 of them. Totally get this movie. Totally agree with a lot of the points. There's a few things I have such minor, admittedly nitpicky issues over, but
Dean hates film history.
I love film history. Also, shout out to one of my favorite podcasts, Film History, The History of Film. Go listen to those guys. They're awesome.
They are really great.
But yeah, honestly, really dig the movie. Probably one of the best movies I've seen in the last couple of years, at least in 2016.
Yeah.
Would recommend going and see it. I think if you're a fan of old movies, you'll love it. And even if you're not, I think you'll just vibe on it. It's a really fun musical.
Yeah, it is.
But next week, we're going to try and have a good time because we're bringing the crew together, right?
Are we?
I mean, I think so. So next week is our Christmas extravaganza where you, me, the members of the other podcasts are going to come together and we're going to watch a movie. And it's going to be a surprise. It's going to come out, I believe, Christmas Eve?
It's going to be a surprise to all of us.
It will be. It will be a surprise to all of us.
But it will be coming out the week of Christmas. I'm not really sure what day Christmas lands on this year. But it'll be that week. We'll give you warning ahead of time.
Yeah, so look out for that. So you can open up our little podcast on Christmas morning and listen to it. But if they wanted to do that, where can they find us?
Well, if you guys want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can also find us on YouTube.
Yes, you can go to our YouTube channel, In the Frame. And that's In the Frame at youtube.com. See, I even did the youtube.com, so you guys can't have an excuse for not being able to find it.
Wow.
Exactly. But you can find this podcast, the Film Club podcast, as well as the Film Odyssey podcast, which me and my brother do, where we talk about the AFI Top 100 Films of All Time. And with that, Boo,
We'll see you next week at the Film Club.
have a great week, everybody.